Hello, my friends. How is everybody? How is everybody? I'm in a bit of a crazy mood. I'm going to tell you right away because I've had this earworm the whole day. You know the song, what do we do with a drunken sailor? What do we do with a drunken sailor? So I'm just going to sit here and sing until you guys are hopping on and I can't get it out of my brain. I can't get it out of my brain. And I haven't even had champagne today. You know, so welcome, my friends. Welcome to Conscious Champagne Chats number 10, I believe. Let's see who's hopping on today in the Mom Leadership Group. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed. And hey, I can see people joining and I can see my comments are back. Yes. Jamie, do me a favor. Put a comment in there. I want to make sure I can see it because it didn't work yesterday. How are you, my friend in Alaska? How are things going? So let's dive right into how are we taking your emotional temperature and why it is important to take your emotional temperature. So, you know, one thing I want you to really remember, yes, I can see the comments. Yay, I'm so happy. It makes me feel way more connected with you guys when I can see the comments, you know. So good. All right, so we are all emotional creatures. We are all emotional human beings. And it's quite frankly not that women are way more emotional than men. That's what we believe. But at the end of the day, we all have emotions. It is just that men have been taught even more to suppress their emotions than we have as women. But quite frankly, all of us have not been taught how to really express our emotions, but more suppress them all the time. And that's why we see things like anxiety and, a lot of anger coming up. But actually, if you think about your children and at birth, when you're born, you are born to express openly and freely. But I don't know about you guys, but I definitely grew up in a household where, you know, the saying, children are to be seen, but not to be heard. So my voice never counted, right? It was like a child. Like, what do you have to say? Your opinion doesn't matter. And so very often that leads to us not being able to process our own emotions. And furthermore, our parents never knew how to do that themselves. And so what happened very often is that if your child if you were angry, your parents would meet you with anger, right? If you were sad, they were meeting you was almost like confusion because they couldn't handle it, right? If you had fear, they would meet you with pull yourself together, right? It's not that tough. And we all the time, how often do we say, and I just watched this thing, you guys, where this girl was running in a competition, a 4-year-old girl, and she didn't win, and she was devastated. And she basically sat there and I said, I screwed up. I did this all wrong. And the mom kept saying to her, no, you did not screw up. You're fine. But see, the thing is, she felt that she screwed up. So you can sit there and say, no, you didn't screw up. But the problem with that is that actually the child in that moment doesn't feel hurt because everything inside of her, the emotions inside of her are saying, I screwed up. So what we actually need to do is just say, you know what, honey, I know it feels so bad when we screw up. It feels terrible. That's showing compassion, right? But we constantly say, or when our kids is like, oh my God, I feel so bad. I'm so stupid. Like my daughter does this all the time. It's like, I feel so stupid. We want to go and say, no, honey, you're not stupid. You're not stupid because we know the pain of feeling stupid, right? When we say that to ourselves, it's like, oh my God, I just felt so stupid. It feels terrible to feel stupid. But the thing is, that's what they're feeling. So what we want to do is, because most of us have literally forgotten to check in to our emotions, and you guys, they're the most precious thing you have, because you've heard me saying this over and over. Nothing in your life happens without an underlying emotion. So you better start becoming really good friends with them. So you really understand how your human operates. And so one way we can actually do that is by taking your emotional temperature. And so I find that, especially at the beginning, if you don't know what you're feeling, like sometimes something happens and you're like, I'm not even sure what I'm feeling right now, because sometimes we feel just a whole bunch of things, right? And so it's easy to say I feel angry or I feel sad, but have you ever realized there's almost like there's this sad to happy scale, and that's it. And like all the other emotions are like, you're either sad or you're happy, and everything is a kind of in between. But it's so much more, it's not linear, right? It's so much more colorful, it's so much more complex. And so there is no sad to happiness scale when it comes to emotions. There's a whole rainbow out of them. And so sometimes instead of going and saying, okay, so this happened, how do I don't know, let's say your husband said something to you and you're like, I feel something, but I'm not sure what I'm feeling. That's okay. That's okay. So what we're going to do is, instead of actually saying, hey, this and the feeling is this and this, let's just start with an emotional intensity. And that's how you can take your temperature. And so I want you to think of like really a thermometer scale. So in Celsius, let's say it goes from 0 to like 37, which is the body temperature, right? I don't know, in Fahrenheit, is that 32 to, I think, 104? What is the highest on your fever thermometer? Is it 104? So think of a thermometer, right? It goes from the freezing point to like, say, your body temperature kind of feverish point, right? So which is like 40 degrees or something like that. And so when something happens during the day, it's just about you noticing. Like, take the time to notice, are my emotions high? Are they like in the heat, Or are they like low? They're like cool. And that's all you have to do. And you can start practicing this. And that, even just like realizing, wow, my emotions are really high right now, you can just like take a deep breath, and you will already, just by noticing it and becoming aware, you can already calm down. Now, because we're human beings, and I can tell you right now, I have to do some weird bacteria stuff for my intestine, and I have to take it 3 times a day. Do you think I remember that? No. So one thing, the best thing to do is put a reminder on your phone that rings like in the morning, at lunchtime, in the evening. So try and check in with yourself 3 times a day. So set your alarm for 3 times a day, in the morning, around lunch, and in the evening, that just says emotional temperature check, right? And then you just close your eyes. And this literally takes 10 seconds, you guys. You close your eyes, and then you can take 3 deep breaths, and then you just feel, and you're like, how intense is the feeling that I'm feeling? It doesn't matter what you feel, but just check in, like, how intense is it? Does your body, and you can tell by how heavy does your body feel? Do you feel any pain inside of your body somewhere? And sometimes if it feels really heavy and you feel like you just want to cry, you go ahead and cry, because that's a release. And so emotions are stuck inside of our body, and just using things like that, it will really help to get them out. Now, and the amazing thing is, when you do this little exercise, is you're going to start seeing a pattern. Like, how do you feel in the morning versus how do you feel at lunchtime? How do you feel in the evenings? Have emotions build up over the day? When are you at your like best? When are you like kind of at your lowest? And so go ahead and do that, and really set your alarm. And if you think 3 times a day is too much, do it once. That's perfectly fine. It's just about like recalibrating, realigning, giving your human that respect, giving your human that love that it needs, you guys, because we shut ourselves out all the time. And when we do that, we have literally not the capacity to show up for our people, for our little small people, and our husbands and boyfriends and partners and wives and whatever, in the way that we actually want to. And the same at work, right? So it's a 10-second check-in. Go and do it. And do you think we should start a thread on this? Should I start a thread on emotional temperature, and you guys can come in and just put your emotional temperature on a scale from 0 to 37 degrees, where is it? Where are you? And we can do a bit of a check-in and see how everybody's doing. And you can also see your progression and your patterns, okay? So, and then tomorrow we will talk a little bit more about what I briefly touched on at the beginning of this live is emotional validation, and why emotional validation is so important to bring you that connection that we want. It's literally helping you to connect with your kids before you actually correct them. And the way we do that is through emotional validation. And so we will be talking about that tomorrow. Take care. Bye.